Hey, what's up? This is John, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the new Blu-ray from Fun City Editions for Stranger's Kiss.
Do you have an appointment?
Give me a break, huh?
What have you done?
What have I done? What have I done? Are you kidding me? Don't you know who I am?
No.
Well, it's who you can be that counts. And I can be anything you want. Anything.
If somehow you haven't heard of Fun City Editions, they are a great boutique Blu-ray label that is probably about 20 releases or so into their catalog. They used to be distributed by Vinegar Syndrome and OCN, which is where they started from. Now they're doing their own thing on their website, and they're also distributed through the usual folks like Orbit DVD, Diabolic DVD, Grindhouse. Fun City Editions specializes in deep cuts from the New Hollywood era. You know, there's also stuff like this is from the 80s, and they branch out to, I don't think they're really putting themselves in any specific box, but it's mostly stuff that is sort of hard to classify, and I think for that reason they end up picking up a lot of stuff like Stranger's Kiss that's sort of fallen through the cracks and been kind of inexplicably unavailable for a long time.
I'm surprised you didn't come to me first.
Ferris, speak to this man. Speak to him. There may still be time. Speak to him.
Of the two slipcovers, I really enjoyed this one. I just like the colors on it, the design, dig the back. The other one's pretty good too. It's more of like a Douglas Sirk melodrama design, so I went for this one. And I think the one that I got is the one that's kind of available everywhere. Both are really cool. Going inside to this, their standard editions are really, really nice too. So if you're watching this way in the future and they've sold out of both, or the one that you wanted, I think this is a really cool cover. I really like the style of design that they do where it kind of looks like old VHS release labels. So I think that one looks really cool. In terms of packaging, that's looking pretty excellent, as usual.
Oh, the movie. How's the movie?
You get there in the morning, and next thing you know, it's time to go home. So exciting.
Yeah, so to talk about the movie itself, the plot's not going to blow anyone's mind. It's pretty basic. It's about a movie within a movie. It's an 80s, 50s sort of nostalgia piece like a lot of stuff from the 80s was, that kind of has that same 30-year nostalgia gap that kind of seems to be the standard nostalgia gap, where you get filmmakers from the 1970s looking back to the 40s. You know, right now you see a lot of stuff that is looking back at the 1990s. And I guess it's just people hitting a certain age, and it seems interesting to me that there is a pretty consistent gap when it comes to nostalgia. Back to the movie. The story is a love story between a man and a woman who are both lead actors in this movie within a movie. And the movie's being financed by a guy who has some mob connections, and his girlfriend is the lead actress, and it's just about, while they're making this movie, the tension that grows between these two characters, and then tension that grows also between the couple and the mob boyfriend. The thing that takes the movie up a notch or two is kind of this interesting way that it's conceived from the very beginning, where the movie is looking at, in kind of a fan fiction-y way, the making of Stanley Kubrick's 1955, I think, film Killer's Kiss, which is, a movie made by a legendary filmmaker that is just a pretty basic movie itself, that nobody historically has really paid much mind to, and it's just fine. It's just a starting off point for Stanley Kubrick before he made some, way more interesting and legendary movies. Taking on any other Stanley Kubrick production at that point, the Stanley Kubrick's movies were all much bigger budgeted and also just like filled with legends and lore. I feel like almost every single Stanley Kubrick movie that is super well known, you know, you mention it to even more casual moviegoers, and you know, everybody knows that Barry Lyndon was shot with all natural light, or later the mystery surrounding the set of Eyes Wide Shut and things like that, and you know, 2001 Space Odyssey and the moon landing being perhaps staged and filmed by Stanley Kubrick, who had the technology and wherewithal to do that. You know, get what I'm saying? It's all like super legendary, and would, you know, you can't just make an indie film about that, not very easily anyway. And there's also something to me that's just inspiring about, you know, the question, what if a guy who is a genius made a movie that's pretty okay?
You're interested in films? Did it ever occur to you that you could be in films?
Well, I always kind of wanted to.
I don't know, I just think, whether or not it's an interesting question itself, I just like that was their starting point, because I like this smaller look at things. I think the movie's really well directed. There's some of the scenes that really bring this out for me are scenes where you see actors in long takes rehearsing for the movie, giving their performance, and you know, watching their performance grow. You know, there was a scene when Blaine Novak, the writer and the main star, he says, you know, I'm thinking, and they're like, that's terrible, don't indicate that you're thinking. And then he does the scene again, and it's a lot better, but you get to see, I don't know, I just think it's really fascinating seeing actors play actors who aren't great at acting and then are. I think that's easy to take for granted, and I don't know, I think it seems a lot easier than it is. The lead actor, Blaine Novak, is really natural, really funny. A scene that kind of shows all that really well to me is there's a scene late in the movie where the lead actors have to kiss, and you see it take after take after take, and to her credit, Victoria Tennant is able to give the same thing again and again, while Blaine Novak is sort of goofing around and making the scene really fun, and her straight man to his goof is another thing that like doesn't necessarily always go noticed, but really boosts the scene a lot. And yeah, that's a super fun scene.
Could I touch your breasts?
No, you can't.
The Gato Barbieri Sexy Sax Man score is excellent. It, you know, really takes a movie that kind of has these 70s-ish leanings in its style and bumps it like full force into total 80s mode. You know, the saxophone pieces also really help the like semi-noirish atmosphere, and it's just really, really good. It's really, really solid stuff that takes the whole thing up. I think it would have seemed like more of an indie without this really strong, powerful score. Another thing that I love in this movie is there's this like beautiful mural that was painted specifically for the movie. I don't remember, they may say in the special features like who the artist was, but it's this really notable shot when a whole wall is an original piece of art created for a movie. That's, you know, add that to my list of things that I just always wins a movie points for me, and this one's really, really cool. That reminds me too, the set in this movie is just generally amazing, and some of it's stuff that they created, some of it's stuff that they just lucked into. There's a lot of stuff that's shot on real old sound stages. There's just lots of rich visuals from all the props they have in the background, and some of these props you learn are actually things that were from Citizen Kane, from King Kong, so they're just in this room and place with all this rich cinematic history. Another thing that I really like about this movie is that it's not super easy to categorize, and I like that about it. I like that, and the written essay kind of mentions this. Often when you're looking at a movie about making movies, it's either this super romanticized thing or this, satirical thing.
Are you writing scripts or what? In my script, he knocks you out!
You're either getting like a Cinema Paradiso or a Fabelmans, or you're getting like The Player. And this one's a little bit closer to, the only movie that it kind of really reminded me of is Living in Oblivion, where you get a feeling for really what it's like to be on a set and having to do things over and over again, and having that same like sense of watching performances develop before your eyes. And it's kind of interesting in that way. But it does seem like a really hard balance to strike. It's not exactly matter of fact either. I don't know. It's kind of all of these things, but it's never over the top with any of them.
Up until now, you've resisted the attraction. But now all pretense, all resistance is evaporated. You are fleshy magnets. And make me believe it.
The extras on this thing are kind of listed on the back in my opinion, a pretty nonchalant way for how good they are. Like, it just, lists, you've got these 4 interviews on here, and they're all like, as if they're not all like incredibly strong interviews that are really well put together, and all like, a half an hour a piece, which is what they are. And to Jonathan Hertzberg's credit, who, obviously as the owner of Fun City Editions, put this whole thing together, really in kind of like a one-man band style, where he, you live and see his name as the editor on these interviews. I think that he did a really, really great job finding the narrative around Stranger's Kiss, this story that comes from the New Hollywood era that all sort of leads up to Stranger's Kiss in this way that it is just super interesting. And these stories, this dude Blaine Novak is this important figure in the periphery of New Hollywood that I had never heard of, or I had seen once in the one other movie that he did, but didn't really know anything about. And hearing his story from the 70s about, with all this like crazy name dropping, and him hanging out with Peter Bogdanovich, and them going to the Playboy Mansion together, him being best friends with Jack Nicholson, him maybe introducing Peter Bogdanovich to Dorothy Stratton, who was then in They All Laughed by Peter Bogdanovich. And, that movie itself, which is not on Blu-ray yet, and which would be, the grail of Fun City releases. And I don't necessarily think this is him leading up to a release of that. It would be absolutely amazing if it is, but there's a lot of great stories that revolve around They All Laughed, because that movie, obviously, for people who know about it, has, crazy infamy and tragedy surrounding it, because Peter Bogdanovich's girlfriend, Dorothy Stratton, at the time was murdered by her jealous lover. And they get into a lot of stuff about They All Laughed. It's not just about Stranger's Kiss. It's about the whole context leading up to it. And it's just, he really finds what the story is, what the most interesting thing going on here is. And this movie is a result of a lot of really, really strange and interesting things that happened. And these 4 interviews all kind of reinforce each other and make this story really, really compelling. So great work there. There's also a great video essay on here by Chris O'Neill. There is a great essay in the written essay in the booklet. The commentary by Walter Chaw is really fun and accessible, and it's got that like film professor whose class you wouldn't want to miss / like movie nerd bestie kind of vibe to it. It's really nice. I've read some of his writing as well, and I think, in a world where there's like 10 million critics, a critic for literally everything. He's the real deal. I really like his stuff.
Don't let this face fool you. I've done some boxing too. I didn't get it from selling good humor ice cream on the street corner.
One recommendation I want to make that's Stranger's Kiss adjacent, but is something that led me to be excited about picking this one up is, and I can't believe this hasn't sold out yet, is the movie Heartbreakers, released by Fun City Editions, I guess 2 years ago now. And the connection here being this gentleman right here, Peter Coyote, who is the star of Heartbreakers. And Heartbreakers is another movie where I think it's my favorite Fun City release so far. And it's just another one that really gives you this where have you been all my life feeling. Why haven't I heard of this movie? Why did this movie disappear? And Peter Coyote is also, he is the Stanley Kubrick stand-in in Stranger's Kiss. And yeah, I guess he's in a lot of stuff. You know, I also recently saw him in the Vinegar Syndrome release of Walter Hill's Southern Comfort. He's great in that. I haven't quite put my finger on what I love about this guy yet, but he's just a super compelling actor that I'm eager to see more of his work. And Heartbreakers is definitely one to check out. I think too, in the wake of recent mania over the movie Challengers, which is a great movie. I think there's a little bit of that. I think if you like Challengers and you like 80s movies or deep cuts or Fun City editions, I think Heartbreakers kind of shares a few things with that.
Heat. Heat! There must be heat between them. If they're hot, the audience is hot. If the audience is hot, finally we make some money, huh?
I would definitely recommend picking it up. The movie is great. It's honestly, it's funny. It's like, it's not even my favorite Fun City. And I think that just says a lot about the quality of their other releases.
Movies. Haven't you got anything else in your life?
I mean, if you know me, it's and you know the label, it's not really a newsflash that Fun City has released another great movie and a great edition. But yeah, I really enjoyed it and hope you do too. Yeah, I would love to hear what you thought of Stranger's Kiss. If you have checked it out, let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do. Would love to have you. And check out Stranger's Kiss from Fun City Editions. And I will see you next time.